The links to shadcn, Next.js, and Kind are going to be down in the description below, as well as a documentation and the GitHub repository with the completed project. This is what the project looks like. You can log in. From here, you can enter your email, just like a standard login flow. I'm going to enter my password here. Great, so I'm here in my app. On the dashboard, I'm going to show you guys how to get your user information on the server side with server components, and also on the client side with client components. So to get started with this project, I'm going to open up my terminal. I'm going to create a Next.js app. Go to Next.js, and I'm going to copy this line down here and paste it in. Press enter, and I'm just going to call it Next App 3. And I'm just going to spam yes here because we want everything. So we want TypeScript, yes, lint, tailwind, no to the source directory, yes to operator, no to the alias. Great, so I'm going to let that download. In the meantime, we're going to visit kind.com. So let's check out kind.com. Start for free here. Actually, I have my business, so let's just visit my business. And I'm going to create a new business. Call this Peter, Next 14. So Peter, Next 14 app 4. So here we are. I'm going to go use Kind with an existing code base. I'm using Next.js as my technology, and I want to allow Google and email. So I'll click next there. I'm connecting it to an existing code base, so I'll click connect here, and it's going to take me into this quick start. First, I'm just going to clean out what I've got from Next.js. So visiting my terminal again, I'm going to open it up in VS Code. So for me, I can just do code next app 3. Great, so that's opened it up over here. I can remove this terminal now and use the inbuilt terminal in VS Code. Inside here, do npm run dev. So it should be running on localhost 3000. Hit localhost 3000. This is where we are at right now. So this is the Next.js boilerplate, and I'm going to clear it all the way out so we can start building our own application. Back in VS Code, we're going to go to app. We're going to check out page, and I'm going to remove everything from here. Scroll all the way down. Great. So inside the main, I'll just do hello world. And I no longer need this import image. Save that. Check it out. Might need a refresh. There you go. You can see it just says hello world with all of these stripes. All of these stripes are coming from this file here, globals.css. It's all of this stuff underneath. So I'm going to do that. Goodbye. And we're going to click save. So now it should look pretty normal. And now let's get this authentication happening. We can go back to the quick start that we had at Kind. So here's our quick start. npm install kind oss at kind auth next.js. What I like to do is create a split terminal by clicking that button down there. And then I'm going to paste in npm install at kind oss at auth whatever. But I'm going to specify the version. So the version that I want to put the at symbol, and I want 2.0.0 dash alpha 0.3. So that's going to install, and that's going to handle all of the authentication for our app. So let's do shadcn, and let's also install that. Here's shadcn, click on installation. Next.js is what we want, and it's the second line down here. I'm going to copy that npm and paste that in there. Click yes to TypeScript. You can choose default or New York. I'll choose default. You can choose the base color. I'll stick with slate. Yes, our global CSS file is still there. Would you like to see CSS variables for colors? Yes, 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 yes. Yes. You can see it's updated our global.css, and now we have shadcn initialized. Let's go back to that Kind quick start. Let's do the rest of the setup for Kind so that we can actually do some authentication. Environment variables is what's first on the list. I'll copy that, and I'm gonna create a new file, .env.local, and I will paste in all of my Kind stuff. So that's got my client ID, client secret, issuer URL, site URL, and post login redirect URL. So after I log in, I'm going to be redirected to /dashboard. Alright, give that a save, and let's continue with the quick start. So we have API endpoints next. This is what handles our logging in and logging out. This is a little bit outdated, so I'll do it for you guys manually. Under app, we want to create a new folder called API, new folder underneath that called auth, and a new folder underneath that called square bracket kind auth, close that square bracket. And inside here, we're going to put a file called route.ts. Okay, in route.ts, it's going to use handle auth, which comes from kind auth next.js. Let's do export const get equals to handle auth. Doesn't know where handle auth is coming from, so let's let it know. So import handle auth from, oopsies, not a capital U. It's going to be that kind OSS kind auth next.js server. So we're grabbing that from the server. And we'll give that a save. Great, so that should handle all of our authentication routes. So login, register, and log out. Back on that home page, so I'm just clicking on that page that we've got. Rather than hello world, why don't we just put a login? So there's this thing called a login link, which is available from kind auth next.js. And I'm going to type login underneath there. And let's see if we can click that login link to actually log in. So if I visit my app now, we're getting an error. And the reason why we're getting an error is because in this new version, we actually need to import login link from components. If you do / components, you can import login link for a server component or a client component. Back to our app, we now have this login link here. If I click it, it'll take me to login. Let's log in. It's going to say, don't have an account with this email, so let's create one. peterfanavon@0@gmail.com. I'm going to grab that code from my email. So it'll refreshing. There it is, 888567. We'll paste that in, continue. And it says this page cannot be found. Uh-oh, is this bad? Not really, because it's redirecting us back to dashboard, like we set in our environment variables. And we don't have a dashboard page yet. So let's create one. New folder. So under the app directory, we're going to create a new directory called dashboard. And inside that folder, we're going to create a file called page.tsx. So export default function dashboard. And we're going to return main dashboard. Save. Okay, great. And now you can see, oh, we're on the dashboard. So now it exists. So everything is fine. But I'm going to head back to the home page. We just have this login. And it looks kind of alright, I guess. But let's create a proper nav bar so that we can see our logging in and our logging out. Okay, so I have one that I cooked up earlier. So I'm just going to grab it from there. Let's visit the file first of all. It's called layout.tsx. Right now it's just rendering children, so that's just rendering our pages. But above all of our pages, I want to render a nav bar. So I'm going to put in a little nav. I'm going to pop in the name of our app called app name. I'll pop in login link, register link, like that. Great. So this login link we can grab from components. Register link we can also grab from components, but button we do not have yet. But we're going to grab that from shadcn. So if we go back to our shadcn docs, you can find the button component. So if you go components, button, there it is. You can see the code for it, it's all good, but installation is what we want here. I'm going to copy and paste that into my terminal and watch what happens. Installing, and it's done. So notice under components now, we have a new folder called UI, and underneath UI, we have this button component. Great, so let's grab that button from shadcn. I have a navbar, it should say the app name, should have a login button and a register button. I'm chucking in this class name, it just has some tailwind classes. So flex, justify between, and then align them center, padding, oh, we should just see padding Y, and then padding X, it's 24. Great, and that's what it looks like now. So our navbar looks pretty good. We can log in and we can register here. Now, one thing I do want to show you guys is that we are actually already logged in. So we have all of these tokens here. So it shouldn't say login and register. It should actually say log out. How can we handle that? All right, so what we want to do is we want to say if we're logged in, show a logout button. If we are not logged in, show login/register. So let's handle that with kind. We can get our token data or our kind data by using a helper function called getKindServerSession. Const equals to getKindServerSession, and this helper is supposed to be used in your server components. By default, all of our components are server components, but we're just going to add async here, and I'll show you why soon. So from getKindServerSession, you can get a whole bunch of stuff. If you do like a control space, you can see everything that it provides. What we want here is authenticated. So let's use isAuthenticated. It's actually a function. So I'm going to do const isAuth equals to isAuthenticated, and you have to await this function. Great. So now isAuth is going to tell us if we are authenticated. So inside here, I'm going to do curly, do isAuth, ternary operator. If we are auth, then let's show the logout link, and that'll say logout. Otherwise, so putting that colon will show what we had before, these together. Okay, so I know a lot of code is coming in really quickly. Remember, I have the GitHub down below so you guys can see the code down there. All right, let's see what we've got. Can't resolve, that's fine. It's just being imported from the wrong spot. Should be imported from server. Okay, great. So now you can see, since we're logged in, it says log out. And I like it looking like a button. So let's copy this button and paste that in there. Say log out. Great, so if I click log out now, you can see that all goes. I'm not authenticated. Now it's telling me to log in and register. So back on the Kind app, I'm gonna go to authentication. I'm gonna go password. I think it's faster, that way I don't have to check my email all the time. So let's log back in. Now it's going to still ask me for my email because it needs to just verify that I am who I say I am. But then afterwards, it's gonna ask me to enter a password. There you go. So I'm setting them up. So now every time I log in with this account, I'll just have to enter that password. We have our navbar working quite well, and it's taking me onto that dashboard. I'm gonna quickly just add in some stuff to make it look prettier. So on our home page here, right now it has our login link. I'm gonna pop in some stuff that I have cooked up earlier. So I'm gonna paste that in. Don't need this login link anymore. We have button already, let's import button. But we don't have card, so let's get card. So it's exactly the same as this, except we're going to change button to card. And if you didn't want to do that, you could go to shadcn, card, and it's just right there. You can copy and paste it in. Okay, card is not defined still. That's okay, because we just installed it, but we haven't imported it. So let's import that in. So the way that I like to do it is you can hover over and quick fix. And that's just like a command dot for me. So command dot and then add import. Great, so that's looking a little bit nicer for us. All right, let's go to our dashboard and let's make our dashboard pretty as well. Once again, I have something cooked up. I'm just gonna copy all of it in and paste it onto that dashboard. So here's our dashboard and I'm gonna paste that all the way in. Great, save. Let's import what we can. So import the card header, card title, all coming from there. So add all missing imports. This link though, you gotta be careful. Should be the next link. That looks pretty good. This tab stuff isn't looking too hot. I'll comment this out for now. And we're missing this user. So let's grab the user. Right, so where does the user come from? On this dashboard page, notice it's a server component. So we can use get kind server session like we did in our layout. Right, so let's do const equals to get kind server session. And from here, if I do control space, you can see that we can get the user. Right, so we're gonna do const user equals to get user. This actually returns a promise, so we're gonna have to put an await in front of it to actually get the user. And to use await, we have to make sure this function is asynchronous. Okay, so now we actually have this user. Let's save and see what's happened. Right, it's this import again. It should be coming from server. All right, we'll give that a save. And now you can see our dashboard looks a little bit nicer. So we're logged in. It's saying, hi Peter, today's important day, today you start. And then we've got some next steps. So token data access, protecting routes management API and organizations. So right now we've actually done token data access. So when we're doing get kind server session, we're actually getting data from our token and part of that is our user. And you can get all of this other stuff too. So user organizations, access token, flags, all of that stuff, permissions, blah, blah, blah. We've done it on the server, but we haven't actually done it on the client side yet. Why don't we go ahead and do that on the client side? So if you have a look at the commented code down here, we're actually rendering a tab and inside we're showing the server component and client component, and we're rendering out just this user. So let's just copy this and I'll re-comment this. I'll just pop it in here for now. So this is what we're rendering out. We're actually getting our user out of our token. So from kind, we know that this is the person who is logged in. His name is Peter Fanavong, no picture. His email is this and his kind ID is that. And that's coming from our server. But there's also a way to get it from our client component too. So it's rendering client component user, but this does not exist. So let's go ahead and create that. I'm going to just delete this for now. And I'm going to, inside our dashboard, create a new file called client component user. Oh, and that has to be .tsx. For the components, I like to do functional components. So export const client component user equals to this, and it's going to return for us something similar to what we had down here. Something like that, but we have to provide it our user. So it doesn't know what the user is. So let's grab the user really quickly. At the top of this file, I'm going to add use client. Whenever you declare use client at the top, it means that this file or this component is a client component. So it works different to your server components. Right, it's going to work like the old React components. So with use state, use effect, all of that kind of stuff. And that's important sometimes. Sometimes you need to have that interactivity and access to the client. So that's what we're doing here. We're going to do use client, and we can try to do it like we've done it before. Try to use get user from get kind server session, and then we can do const user equals to get user, and we can await it and then add an async over here. We can try that, but you're going to run into some errors. Oh, the reason why there's no errors is because we're not rendering this client component user anywhere. So let's render it here, client component user, and now we're getting the error. So can't resolve. Oh, that's one that we can fix actually. This one should say server. This method must be invoked in a Node.js environment. For us, it's happening when you're trying to access the server from a client component, which Next.js doesn't like. So let's use something else. So rather than get kind server session, we can use kind browser client. Use kind browser client, and that's coming from kind auth Next.js. And straight from here, we can actually grab the user straight away. So let's remove all of this, and let's see now if it works with our client component. So using the kind browser client. Great. Okay, so we have async await is not supported. That's because we have an async here. Let's remove that. Save, heading back. And you can see it's kind of working. It's flashing null, and then it's showing the user who's actually logged in, which is expected because when we're using the browser client, it has to load first, but it also provides an is loading variable, and we can actually check if it is loading. If it is loading, then let's show something else instead. So if is loading, rather than returning this, let's try and return a skeleton. Now we don't have a skeleton yet, but we can add a skeleton with shadcn. And I'm just going to copy and paste this code in. I'm going to add this margin bottom of 4 as well. I reckon the height is a bit taller. I think maybe 180. Skeleton, and we can import that now from our component. Great, so before it was flashing null. Now it should flash our skeleton, and then it should show our user. Great, so we're back here. If I click refresh, have a look at the token data access card. Great, it's flashing our skeleton, and then it's showing us our actual data. So that's us getting our stuff from our client components. So we've done it from our server components, done it from our client components, and that should pretty much cover everything you need for accessing data from kind using the Next.js client components and server components. I'm just going to make that look a bit prettier now by using these tabs. I'm going to uncomment that, and I'm going to add tabs from shadcn, and then I'll just import everything, and it should look really cool. So it's installing tabs. There you go, tabs is in there. Let's import this now into this file. So import, add all missing imports, give that a save. Right, we're still showing this client component user at the top here. So let's remove that. By default, we're showing the server component, client component, see that little flash? There you go, that means it's loading, but it looks pretty good, not bad. So that's token data access with kind. We can do it on server and client components. Next, I'm going to show you protecting routes. On this dashboard, right, it only looks really great because we actually have the user data. Like we know that my name is Peter and we can show this user stuff here. But what happens when it doesn't have my user data? So let's log out. It's taking me back to the home page. Let's go to dashboard. Boom, running into some errors. But we can actually fix this error. So on the dashboard page, at the top here it says user.givenName. What if the user is null? It's not going to have a given name. We can put a question mark here and that should solve our issues. Great, but now it just looks kind of whack. So it says welcome, comma, today's important day, null, whatever. Doesn't look right. So let's go ahead and see if we can fix this. In this app, I don't want the user to be able to see this page unless they are logged in. So I'm going to check if they're authenticated. And if they are, I'm going to let them see it. If they're not, I'm going to redirect them to a different page. So I'm going to call that different page not authenticated. So I'm going to create a new folder, not auth, new file, page.tsx. And for pages, I like doing export default function, and I'll call this one not auth. Great. And here I'm going to return main, and let's say you are not authenticated. Please log in or register. Great. And then I want to wrap this in a login link, next, and then a register link. Great. And we want to grab this from components. Great, all right, so let's check if that exists now. You are not authenticated, please log in or register, and you can click login, boom, and you can click register too, boom. So when we are trying to visit this dashboard now, instead of visiting the actual dashboard, I want it to go to that not auth page. So how can we do that? So if I go to dashboard page, just like how we did get user, we can also get is authenticated. And we're gonna do the exact same thing. So we're gonna do const is auth equals to await is authenticated, and then inside here I can do an if is authenticated or is authed. If it is not authed, then we're going to redirect using next navigation to not authed. Give that a save, and you can see it's already automatically sent us to not authed. So if I hit dashboard again, you can see it just straight away goes to not authed. Nice. Okay, so let's say now, let's just test, can I actually visit the dashboard when I am auth? I'm gonna click login, put in my details, .com, asking me for my password, hitting the dashboard, and now I can see everything. This looks a little bit funky, but that's all right. I'll fix it up in the final version. And yeah, we're fully logged in now. So we've actually covered our token data access, and we've actually covered protecting our routes. This is how you protect your route in our server component. You can do it by just grabbing the data and then sending them somewhere else. And you can do the exact same thing on a client component as well. Rather than using Kind server session, you can use Kind browser client. There are other things that our SDK can do with the Kind management API, organizations. There's also internationalization and some analytics. But for now, we'll leave it at that. So hopefully that was good for you guys. If you want to see more like this, please let me know. Leave some comments in there. And if there's anything that you want to suggest, also drop down a comment, like, subscribe, all of that good stuff. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully that helped, and have fun building.